Debt is becoming somewhat of a modern day epidemic, especially in countries like the United States where consumerism and materialism are such prominent driving forces of today's society. Now, with so many people living in debt, the current mindset is starting to shift towards an acceptance of this perpetual state of debt, and we're starting to look onto others and justify our own actions and the reasons why we ourselves are getting into more debt. What I mean is, since so many people are accepting the fact that credit cards, banks, and all these other large financial entities are so willing and ready to loan us money, people are really taking advantage of this by purchasing items that they do not have the means to own, just because one of these credit agencies is going to loan you the money to do so. In the year 2018, the total consumer debt in America totaled $3.898 trillion, which is a 7.6% increase from the previous year. Collectively, Americans owe 26% of their income to this debt and spend about 10% of their monthly earnings on non-mortgage debts such as car loans, credit cards, and personal loans. The average American is a whopping $38,000 in debt, excluding home mortgages. Now, the problem that I see with this perpetual state of debt that we seem to be digging ourselves deeper and deeper into is that as we get further into our debt, we are starting to lose a lot of our freedom. Let me explain. If the average American person is $38,000 in debt, that means a good solid proportion of your yearly income is going directly towards debt. Now, in turn, this translates to the fact that people are stuck working jobs that they might not necessarily enjoy because they are so in debt to someone and they've spent money that isn't their own, so they're obligated to go out of their way to make sure that they have the money to pay that back, or else suffer all kinds of consequences. If I'm $38,000 in debt, you best believe there's not a chance in the world that I'm going to wake up one day and say, hey, you know what? My job really sucks. I think I'm gonna quit and pursue my dreams. Because you don't have the freedom and the space to be able to go out and take that risk because you're stuck paying off a debt for some things that you happened to buy in the past. Whether that be a car, all kinds of furniture, or whatever you spent your money on. You're basically locked into some sort of job for the time being until you figure a way to get out of that debt. If you're stuck in a job that you really hate and you can't leave because you have to pay off a debt, then are you really considered a free person? Maybe on the surface you are, because you do have the ability to still go where you want and do what you want, but realistically you're kind of being shackled by this financial burden that you can't seem to escape. I truly believe that the less debt you're in, the less money you owe to other people, the more actual freedom you have. Now, with all that being said, I certainly myself am not some model person because I do in fact have a bit of debt that I'm working to get myself out of. This amount of debt that I'm in by any means is not near the average American debt, but to me it's still a large enough debt that I'm trying to tackle it head on and escape now before I dig myself further into the hole. I want to go ahead and share with you 4 steps that I will be taking to efficiently as possible get out of debt and gain financial freedom. Now, these are not tried and true, so I'm not suggesting these as things that you do necessarily. These are just the steps that I'm going to be taking, and maybe you will find some kind of value within them and you can apply them to your own life with little tweaks here and there, because you know yourself and you know your spending habits, so you know what will work for you. Number 1 is to build a chart or spreadsheet that shows and calculates all the debts that I have and total everything together and have a place for all of those things to live. Of course, you can't begin to tackle your debt until you figure out just how much money you are in the hole. So this is going to serve as a way for you to have a place to go refer to every time you want to know how much of a difference you're making towards the money you owe. Step number 2 is to create a spreadsheet showing all of your income from all of the different sources that you happen to get your money. It's actually very easy to lose track of how much money you're making and to not have any idea of the exact amount of income that you're bringing in on a monthly basis. It is important to know how much money you're making because that will help determine what your budget will be and how much you could spend and how much you want to put towards your debt on a regular basis. Number 3 is to create a spreadsheet that documents all of the money that you spend. At first, this one's probably going to be a little bit tricky because it's going to take some getting used to the idea that every purchase you make, you're going to have to record and then go back later on and organize it into different sections and categories so you can really see how much money you're spending and where the majority of your money is going. This is a very crucial step because just like it's easy to lose track of how much money you're actually earning, it's also equally as easy to lose track of what you're spending your money on, especially because a lot of the time it's such a subtle increase in spending habits that we don't even realize how much money we're actually putting out towards stuff that we could probably go without. Step number 4 is going to be to analyze all the data that you're collecting about your monthly income and your spending habits, and then from there create some sort of budget or spending guidelines on the amount of money that you're allowing yourself to spend on whatever it is that you need to spend it on, but also how much money you're going to be paying towards your debts month by month. As you can see, the main underlying point of all of these steps is really to just analyze and be more consciously aware of how much money you're making, how much you're spending, and begin to regulate that in some sort of way that's going to allow you to put as much money as possible towards your debts so that way you could be financially free much quicker than you would if you were to just continue spending and earning money in the way that you currently are. I hope you guys have found this video to be somewhat helpful. To be quite honest, I kind of made it for myself as much as I did for you guys because I needed a way to actually hold myself to tackling my debt head on like I've been talking about doing for quite some time. I wish you guys all the best of luck in your financial endeavors, and I will see you guys very soon in the next video.